Welcome to Happy Healthy Living with Yvonne Douglas. My name is Doug, and today we're going to make a traditional Italian Easter cookie called uncinetti. And I hope you stay tuned because they are so delicious. So let's talk about all the ingredients and supplies you're going to need to make our delicious Italian Easter cookie. So the very first thing you're going to need is 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and 1 teaspoon of pure almond extract. You're also going to need 1 tablespoon of baking powder. In addition, we need 3 large eggs. And for the butter, you'll need 3/4 cup of butter, which is 1 stick and a half of the butter. Now make sure it's room temperature, that it's softened, very important. And you'll also be needing, for that rest of that butter there, you'll be needing it for the frosting. So for the frosting, you're going to need 2.5 cups of powdered sugar, 1/4 cup of milk. You're going to need, very important that you have around 2 tablespoons of the softened butter. And we're going to be making, plus a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1/2 teaspoon of the almond extract. And so we're going to be making our delicious frosting. Now, once we have that frosting done, we're going to separate it into bowls. And I'm just using these small white bowls like this. And then we're going to add food coloring to each bowl. So I'm using green, blue, yellow, and red. And it's going to be a lighter color, very Easter. And then we'll top them with these sprinkles here, and I want to show you up close. So this is a very traditional sprinkle, rainbow sprinkles that they use, and it looks like this. So keep that in mind, but you can put any sprinkles on you want, but I want it to be very traditional. These are the cookies that I remember as a little boy, and I used to love them. They were so good. All right, so the almond extract, very, very Italian. And yeah, so let's start. Oh, by the way, supplies. So you're going to need 2 baking sheets. Now you can use parchment paper or you can use Silpat. You're also going to need a cooling rack plus a mixer. I have my KitchenAid mixer. I'm going to be using that for the dough, but I also have a handheld mixer, which I'll be using for the frosting. All right, stay tuned. Okay, so we're going to start making our delicious uncinetti. Uncinetti cookies. All right, so first I'm going to be putting my butter. Now don't forget the butter needs to be room temperature. I like to just break them up into blocks like that. That's 1.5 sticks, or 3/4 cup. All right. I'm adding my 1 cup of sugar. And I'm going to start to mix that, and then I'm going to add my eggs. Okay, so I'm going to start to add my eggs. Got my 3 eggs. And we want to mix this for around 2 minutes. Maybe about halfway through, scrape down the bowl. Just get a rubber spatula. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to scrape down the bowl just again. One more time, I should say. So I'm adding 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And we're adding 1 teaspoon of that pure almond extract. Now, almond extract is kind of powerful, but for these cookies, it's going to be so good. Smells so good. Let's mix that. Okay, we're going to add that 1 tablespoon of the baking powder. And I'm going to start getting my flour ready. And remember, we need 3.5 cups. So we're going to do 1 cup at a time. I'm going to scrape that. We want to make sure that we're going to mix this well. Let me just get that off. Scrape down the sides a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Now, as I always say in most of my videos, make sure your hands are always clean, because we are going to be using our hands. Okay, that's good. Okay, so I wanted to show you the dough. Now, the dough should be soft. It should be pliable, but it should not be too sticky. If you find your dough is very, very sticky, just keep adding a couple more tablespoons until you get that right consistency. This took a little bit more than 3.5 cups of flour. I added like maybe 2 more tablespoons of flour to this, but this is how the dough should be. So you can see it's soft, pliable. It's not too sticky. You don't want it to be too sticky. All right, so form it in a ball like this, and then we're going to be using a scoop, an ice cream scoop, and this is approximately like a 1 inch in diameter, and we're going to scoop out the balls. We're going to roll it into balls and place it on our cookie sheet, and we're going to space them around 2 inches apart. Okay, so I'm going to got my cookie scoop here. So I just fill it like that, release it, and then I'm just going to roll it into a ball, just like that. And we're going to place it on our cookie sheet, 2 inches apart. And we're going to continue doing that until we fill up our trays. All right, we'll be back. Okay, so our oven has preheated, and this is what they look like on the tray. I'm going to put them in the oven, let them bake for around 10 to 12 minutes, and they won't change much in color. But that's exactly what they're supposed to look like. All right, so I'm going to put them in the oven. We'll be back in about 12 minutes. So while our cookies are baking, we're going to be using 2 cups of confectioner's sugar. I'm sorry, 2.5 cups of confectioner's sugar. There's my 2 cups. And there's my half. All right. Put that to the side. I'm going to be using about 2 tablespoons of softened butter. Very important that it's softened. Half teaspoon of pure almond extract. Make sure, oh, I almost did tablespoon. Half a teaspoon of pure almond extract. And we're going to do half a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Okay. And our 4th cup of milk. I'm going to do a little bit at a time. You really want to check that consistency. I'm just using a handheld mixer. You can use a whisk too. Add the rest of the milk. So I want you to see this. So I'm going to add just a little bit more milk to that. Just, you know, a tiny bit more. And that's exactly how you want your frosting to be. The cookies, and you can see how they kind of rise up a little bit and they look beautiful. This is exactly the color they should be. We want to leave them on the tray for about a minute after you take them out of the oven, and then we're going to transfer them to this cooling rack. Now, I always use a spatula and a fork to kind of like scoop it up and then gently place it on the cooling rack. So it's been approximately a minute since I've taken them out. And as you can see, I'm going to gently and just go with my fork and just gently place them on the cooling rack. But you can see how they kind of form almost like a dome. And oh my gosh, they look fantastic. Now you have to make sure that they cool completely before you start frosting them. And it makes a really nice amount. So I'm really excited about these cookies. They bring back such awesome memories when I was a kid, and how my mom would always bake and cook, and she used to bake Italian, Hungarian, German. I mean, she did it all. But it was the Italian cookies that I used to love the best. And she also made at Christmas time, it's called struffoli. And oh my gosh, I used to love her struffoli. So being raised with German, Italian, and Hungarian, that's why I love food. Okay, very nice. That looks good. Let me show you really quick. So you can see that? It's not drippy, but it's not too thick either, because when you dip your cookies in there, you really want it to kind of coat the entire top of that cookie. And so if it's too thick, it's just going to look like mush. So you want it nice and smooth. So get yourself a metal spoon and just at the very end, give it a couple of good stirs like this. Really get that icing going. Yummy. Next up, I want to get the icing, and I'm going to do a big tablespoon and put it in each bowl. And I do want to leave some white. So you want to leave some in this bowl that's just pure white. That looks good. So I have approximately the same amount in each bowl. And what I want to do is I'm going to add the food coloring one at a time, of course. This is going to be red. I'm going to do 2 drops at first and take a look at the color. It's Easter, so you want light colors. You don't want them to be too dark. Okay, so I'm going to just mix that really well. And that's giving a really pretty color right now. Let me show you that red. Almost looks like a pink, but you can tell it's red. And I like that color for Easter, so that's going to be my red. Next one's going to be yellow. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 drops of the yellow, because this comes out kind of light anyway. So let's take a look at that, because I want the yellow to be a little bright. And after all, it is Easter. I love Easter. I love springtime. Yeah, this is a really nice color. Yes. That's the yellow. All right, then we got blue. I'm going to do 2 of the blue. And that is a really nice blue, almost like my shirt, like I said. And the last one, green. Now the green, I'm going to do one drop of the green because I want it to be a very, very light green. That's the green. All right, so we have our colors done. And I'm going to check my last batch of cookies and take them out and make sure they cool completely, and then we're going to frost each one. Stay tuned. Almost totally cooled. You have to make sure that they're totally cool before you start dipping them into your glaze or frosting here. So a couple of things. If you wanted to, you could actually add a little lemon zest to the dough too if you wanted to. I didn't have a lemon in the house, so I kind of left that out, but that's really optional. But these cookies, they're light. They're kind of a little cakey inside, and you can see the beautiful color that they are. These were baked, I'm going to show you up close. These were baked at 12 minutes, and this I took out at 11. So depending on your oven, it's really 10 to 12 minutes. Just to keep that in mind. Another thing, once we start dipping, I'm going to add just a drop of milk to each of these colors right here because it's just going to be a drop. This is already soft, but like I said, we want it to be almost like a glaze. So when it goes over the cookie, it's nice and smooth and it's going to look really pretty. So I'm going to add just a drop of milk, just a drop, tiny drop to each one before I start to dip the cookies. And then, like I stated earlier, these are the sprinkles, the traditional sprinkles that we're going to add, those rainbow colored ones. And that's going to be our Italian cookie. Can't wait to decorate them. Okay, so we're going to start to dip them. And like I said, you probably want to add like a little drop of milk before you start to dip. And this is how we're going to do it. So I'm going to get my cookie and make sure they're totally cool. And we're just going to dip them in there, give them a little swirl, release, get a little excess off, and that's really it. So very simple. Dip, release, take off any excess. And it will kind of smooth out. And remember, these are homemade. And this is a great thing to do with kids, by the way. So you might want to get the kids involved. They can definitely dip these cookies. Couple of things. When you ice yours, after you dip them, that's when you want to add the sprinkles to them because they'll still be wet. If you leave them be, they'll get hard and then you can't add the sprinkles on top. But here they are, and notice the parchment paper underneath. It just helps with cleanup, you know, when they drip or there's sprinkles, it just falls on the parchment paper and then it's so easy to clean up. So look how beautiful these Italian cookies look, Easter cookies. I'm so excited. I'm gonna put them on a nice tray and have a taste test. Stay tuned. Okay, so I'm gonna try one. Wow. So good, just like I remember from when I was a kid. My Italian uncinetti cookies. I hope you give them a try. They are so delicious and they look beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today on Happy Healthy Living with Yvonne Douglas. Remember, if you want that homey vibe, you need to subscribe and please give this video a like. Until next time, my friends, happy healthy living and happy Easter. Bye-bye.